as we already built a big part of our web API, we are going to go ahead and install Vue and Bootstrap for styling our UI. Now, here's the step that we're gonna follow before we deep dive into our topic. We are going, first of all, we are going to build our UI. Then we are going to test component by component using Vares. We are going to integrate our web API into our Vue.js app, and we're going to keep on working on the backend and front end at the same time. Then we are going to convert our app to progressive web app, and finally we are going to move our app to production environment. That being said, let's get started. Now, in order to install Vue free, we are going to tap npm create Vue at lattice. Then you're going to pass the name of your project, and then they're going to prompt you to select TypeScript. You're going to select yes. We are not going to use JS6, no. Vue yes. Pioneer for state management, yes. Vares for unit testing, yes. ESLint for code quality, yes. Prettier for code formatting, yes. And then you're going to get into your Vue project and then tap npm install in order to install it. But also we are going to install some package that we are going to work with along. We are going to install Bootstrap icons. We are going to use it for adding icons within our app. We are going to install Vue toast notification. You're going to copy this command. But also we are going to validate our input using Vue validate. And if you're using npm node package manager, you're going to copy the first command. For those who are using Yarn as node package manager, they're going to copy the second command. But also I've already downloaded Bootstrap, a minified version. I'm gonna move it within my Sublime text, and then here I'm going to copy it and paste it within my asset folder. Within your asset folder, you're going to get in and create a file, bootstrap.main.css, and then you're going to paste in the content. Before we start developing our UI, I'd like to show you something. You're gonna get into the component folder, and then you're going to see we got __ test folder, and then you can see we got hello world.spec.ts file, which is a test file that came by default when we install Vares. And then here you're going to see here, guys, we got hello world.vue components. This is a test file for it. And then in order to run our test, we are going to get into the package.json file. And then you can see we got a command test :unit. Now you're going to try to run our test by tapping npm run test, and our test, it is going to pass. You can see. Now here you're going to get into the asset folder, and then you're going to delete the base CSS and the main.css. Now let's get in the main.cs file, and then here you're going to import Bootstrap. Now we're going to get into the views folder. We're going to create in pages, is where we are going to put in all our pages, and then you're going to create two folders. The first one, it is going to be admin folder, and the second one, it is going to be off folder. Yeah, off folder. And then we are going to delete the about.vue, but also the home.vue file. Now within the admin folder, within the off folder, we are going to put in admin. We're going to say off page. It is going to be the entry point off page.vue, and then we're going to put in a file login, and then .vue login page. Now we are going to put in some code within the off page. It is going to be an entry point. We're going to pass in a div, and then we're going to pass in a class of a container, and then we're going to pass in the router view. Yeah, the router view, it is going to allow us to load other pages. It is going to be the entry point for other pages. Now we are going to put some code to within the login page, and then we are going to say this is the login page. We're going to pass a login page, and then we're going to move within the router, and then you can see right here you're going to remove that, and then we are going to remove the home view. We already deleted it. And here we are going to pass here the name of our page. Is going to be login, and we are going to load first the entry point of the login page. Of the off page, it is off page. This is the entry point. Now the off.vue page, as it is the entry point, it is gonna take some children page and pass here children, and we are going to pass our login page. We're gonna pass here login, and then we're gonna wrap this within an object. Yeah, like this login page. And that's it, guys. Now we're going to go ahead and get into the browser and see if we are going to load this page. I'm gonna tap into, and then first of all we need to run our Vue save. I'm gonna tap into run dev, and then you're going to see we got right here login page. I'm not getting to the app.vue file. We need to remove you did it. You can see right here we got the header components. We're going to get rid of it, but also the hello world.vue. Yeah, I'm not remove that. And then but also the CSS, we're going to get rid of that. And then we're going to wrap our raw review component within a div tag. I'm gonna pass it, and then we're gonna pass it the class of container, and then everything is okay. Now let's create the admin page. We are going to get in the admin folder, and we're going to first to create the intro point, which is the admin page.vue. We're going to copy content within the off page, and we're going to put it within the admin page. Then we're going to create a folder dashboard, and then we're going to put in one file. We're gonna say dashboard page.vue, and we are going to pass in an h1 to notify us that we're on the dashboard. Yeah, we're gonna pass here h1, and then here we're gonna pass it the name dashboard. Now we're going to get in the router, and in order to register this page, we're gonna pass here, we are going to copy it, and the name of the roots of the path is going to be dashboard. Now we need to get access to the child, which is the dashboard page, dashboard, and then here we are going to pass here dashboard, because we need to point to the roots. When we tap dashboard, we are going to fall back to the dashboard and dashboard page.vue like this. I'm gonna pass the dashboard. Yeah, you can see right now we're on the dashboard page. Now let's move to the login page and design it, and I got a boilerplate for that. Here you can see this is just pasting some Bootstrap code, and you can see that we are using Vue Composition API. I'm gonna go back to the login page and see how it actually looks. You can see we got a beautiful login page. Now we are going to design the dashboard page. I'm not getting to my Sublime text. I got a boilerplate for the admin page. I'm not getting to the admin page.vue. It is our intro point, and I'm not pressing this code. And also, guys, we are going to import the navbar.vue. I'm not getting to the Sublime again, and I'm going to copy the navbar. And within the admin folder, we're going to put in a component folder, and then I'm gonna put in components, and then here we're going to put in our navbar.vue. Also, we're going to create in a test folder __ test, and then here, guys, we are going to refactor it, and then here we're gonna pass here first the components in order to import the navbar.vue file. And then I'm gonna move to the dashboard, and then let's try to see. Yeah, you can see this is our dashboard page. Now we are going to go ahead and install Bootstrap icon, and here I'm not getting to right here. We are going to copy this code within the main.ts file. I'm not getting the main.ts file, and then I'm going to import Bootstrap icons, and then you're going to see the add icons on our navigation bar. Now we need to refactor the dashboard. We need to create a component header nav for the black nav right here. I'm not getting to the admin page.vue, and right here you can see we got the header tag. I'm going to create I'm gonna create a file for it, and then I'm gonna get into the component folder and say header nav.vue, and then we're going to create in the template tag and press it in the content and import it within the admin page.vue. And right here I'm gonna pass here header nav. This is the name of the component, and then we are going to pass it right here and get into the browser and refresh again to see if it is going to appear. Yeah, you can see it. Now, if you take a look to the admin page, that Vue file, you're going to see right now it is a bit clean, and we got two components that we just imported in it. And here you can see we just pass here the router view, and we a slot attributes, and then we just extract the component that we need to render, but also we just pass it to the dynamic component right here. The component here, it takes the is property, and then it render these components. Before we start testing our Vue app, we should be aware of what to test. Since a Vue app is composed by components, we should test only our own components, what we write. Assuming we have a button within our top nav bar that allows to show and hide the left navigation menu. The button has a boolean property, show left nav bar. In this case, the property is the input and the button the output. As we already know what to test, these are things that we should be testing. In our example of a button that show and hide the menu, there's a function that changes the state of a show left nav bar prop. And this is an implementation detail that we should be tested. Furthermore, we should be testing Vue functions, example, define props. They are already being tested. External dependencies and package, third-party API like actions, and so on. Now, as we already know what to test, let's go ahead and run our first test. Alright guys, now we're gonna go ahead and run our first test since we already know what to test. Now guys, we are going to start by testing basic components, and then we're going to move to advanced components. Now we're gonna get started with the sign up or login with Google button. Now we are going to move within the auth folder, and then we're going to create a component folder, login button. And then here guys, we are going to put in test case of this button. Now this is the button that we need to test. You can see right here, these are test case. The login button should emit an event, login or sign up user. The second test case should contain text, sign up or login with Google. We are going to use TDD, test-driven design. We are going to run first test that is going to fail, and then we are going to make it pass. Here you can see we got a component folder and the test file. Now here I'm going to create another file, login button, that's page.ts file, and then I'm gonna get it of the icons folder, but also the welcome and the welcome item. Now I'm gonna get into the hello world.vue file, and I'm gonna grab the content and put it within the login spec.ts file. You can see right here we got the hello world components. Now here what I'm going to do, I'm going to import first the login button. The login button is there, and then the name of the test is login button. Now if we get into the login button, you can see we got test case that we need to handle for the button, and here guys we are going to work on it. Now the first test case, I'm gonna pass it right here. You can see login button should emit an event. This is the first test case. The second one should contain text, sign up or login with Google. Now I'm gonna pass it right here. This is the second test case that we need to handle. As we already import the login button, we need to pass it to the mount function. Yeah, pass it. And then right now the login button, it is not going to take a prop. I'm gonna get rid of this object. If we get into the login button, I'm gonna get in the login button. You can see here we got an end tag, and we need to click on this end tag, and then we're going to emit an event. That's what we need to do. And here I'm going to say login btn.found. I'm gonna find the end tag, and then I'm going to trigger an event. It is going to be click. And then we are going to emit an event. Emit event, we are going to call the emitted function, and we are going to pass the event that we need to emit from it. The name of the event is login or sign up user. I'm going to pass it right here. And then here, this emit event, you can see a non-array. It returns an array. Now we are going to export an array of length 1. And here, I'm going to pass it to the matcher. This, we are going to remove this, and then to have length, and then here I'm gonna pass here. I'm trying to export that this array have a length of 1. Now we need to move to the second test case. Here we need also, first of all, we need to mount the button, and then we are going to check if the login button has the label sign up or login with Google. We're gonna pass here login, and then we are going to find the end tag, and then you're gonna say that test to contain a sign up or login with Google. And then we're going to go ahead and get into the command prompt and run our test and see if it is going to fail. npm run test and then unit. Now we're gonna see what we're gonna get. Yeah, you can see our test, it is running. The test failed. Now we need to make it pass. You can see right here we got login button. Login button should emit events. Login or sign up with user, it fails. I'm gonna get into the login button, and here you can see we're going to define an event, const emit, and use the define emit macro. We are going to emit it. When we are going to click on this button, we are going to emit this event. I'm going to pass it to the emit function like this. And then here for the image, we are going to say it is going to be a slot. We are going to make our component testable. And then here, the slot, I'm going to pass it here. And then here, we are going to get into, again, the command prompt and see what we get. We can see that right now, our test passed. Login button should emit events. Login or sign up use should contain text. Sign up login with Google. Yeah, congratulations guys, you just write your first testable component. Now here I'm gonna format my document and I'm gonna get into the login page and import a component right here. And the name of the slot, we're gonna pass it to the template. We're gonna pass the template, and then we're gonna say it's going to be an image. And then I'm gonna copy the image, and then we're gonna pass it within the template, and then we're gonna get rid of the form tag. And there we go, guys. If we get into the browser, everything is going to work. Alright guys, now we're gonna test our left navigation menu. I'm gonna get into first the login page. You're gonna see right here we got an header, and we should replace the submit register function with the login or sign up user. Now we're gonna move within the admin page of Vue. You can see right here we just imported the navbar components. Now we're gonna get in, and you can see that this component takes an array of navigation, but also it emits an event logout. When the user is going to click on this button, they're going to log the user out of the system. Now we're gonna go ahead and get into the test folder, which is located within the component folder, and then we're going to create a test file for our navbar. We're gonna say navbar.spec.ts, and then we're going to copy content within the login button, and then we're gonna put it right here. First of all, we need to import this component that we need to test, which is the navbar. We're gonna do import navbar, and then we are going to pass it to the test suite. And then our navbar component has two test cases that we need to handle. I'm gonna copy them, and I'm going to put them right here. The first test case that we need to handle, this component should emit an event logout that we're gonna get started with, and the second one should take an array of menu. And then here I'm going to pass this first test case right here, and then we're gonna pass here the navbar, and then we need to mount our components so that it can be testable. And here we just mount it, and then we are going to find right here. If we get into the navbar component, I'm not moving, and then here you can see we got right here an li tag, and it has an event. It is going to emit the logout button. Now we need to find it, and here we are going to get into the navbar spec, and we are going to do this navbar that found. We are going to pass here an li, and then we are going to trigger a click event. And then here we are going to pass here, we're going to say it is going to emit a logout, and then this emit event variable returns an array. Now we are going to check if it has a length of 1. Now you can see if you run our test, it is going to fail because of this li tag. You can see if I get into the navbar.vue file, we have many li tag. This is the first one. I'm gonna select it, and then we got another one. But how can we select a specific li tag? And here I'm going to add here another attribute. In CSS, when we need to select a specific HTML element, we add an attribute. For example, we can say logout button. Now here we're gonna add this attribute. We're gonna say equal btn. Test it logout btn. We're gonna pass it btn, and then I'm gonna copy it and get into the navbar.spec file, and then we're gonna pass it right here. This is how we select it. Yeah. And then here we just finished with our first test case. And here I'm gonna get into the command prompt and run npm run test and see if our first test it is going to pass. You can see right here, guys, there are two test case fields, should emit event field, but also the second one. For the second one, we are going to work on it. You can see, should take an array of item. We're gonna pass here the name of the second test case that we need to handle. And here, first of all, we need to mount the component navbar. We're gonna pass it to the mount function, and then we're gonna pass here navbar. Our navbar should take an array of many. And here, first of all, I'm going to define a constant. I'm gonna say prop data, and then I'm gonna move within the navbar, and then I'm gonna copy this data, assign it to our prop data. We're gonna use our prop data object in order to test if our navigation render li tag. And here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to say it is going to take a prop. If it doesn't know what is a prop, go check it out this video. And then we're gonna pass it the navigation. It is gonna take an array of prop data. I'm gonna pass it, but also it is going to take a slot. If it doesn't know also the slot, check out to this video. And also we're gonna pass here the slot navigation. This is the name, and then we are going to pass it an li tag, and then we are going to render within this li tag. We're gonna pass it prop data, and then we're gonna pass here the name, which is customer. Right here now, for matching, we are going to test if within our navbar component we got an li tag with dashboard. That's what we need to do. We're gonna pass here navbar, and then we are going to check if we got an HTML element that we have this li tag, and then within the li tag we have dashboard. That's what we need to test. We're gonna pass here dashboard. And then here you can see that our test still failed. Yeah, it failed again. Yeah, it failed again. Now we need to go within the navbar view component and refactor it so that our test can pass. And then I'm gonna move within the admin page view. You can see within the navbar view file, we are going to defining a component. First of all, I'm going to comment this, and then we're gonna use define prop macro in order to define a component. It's gonna be navigation, which has an object name string. We're gonna pass a string. The link, it is going to be a string, but also the icon, it is going to be a string too. And then here we are going to move to, you can see right here, we just pass it this array. Yeah, the edit disappear. And then you can see we need to pass it a scoped slot. We are going to pass here a slot, and then we're gonna pass here slot, and then the name it's going to be, we're gonna pass here navigation, which is the name, but also it is gonna take the data. We're gonna pass here vbound. We're gonna pass it this object. You can see we just pass it an object, the name, link, and icon. And then if you get into the command prompt, you're gonna see that our test failed. Should emit event, it passed. Should take an array of many, should take an array of navigation. We're going to get in, and then we're gonna say right here should take an array of navigation. Yeah, should take an array. Okay, we're gonna do even this. It should take an array, and then you're gonna see that our test pass. Yeah, but if we get into the navbar view component, and for the slot name we try to modify the name, let's try to pass here xx, and then see what we get in the console. You can see that our test failed. Yeah, it failed, and if I put back navigation, it is going to pass again. Now we need to get into the admin page view file, and then we are going to pass it there, because if we get into the browser and refresh right here on the dashboard, it doesn't display our menu. I'm gonna get into first the navbar. I'm going to copy this navigation array, and I'm gonna move it within the admin page view, and we're going to uncomment it, and then we're gonna pass it to our component. We're going to import the ref from Vue. Gonna pass here ref, and then here we can see that we got an error, and it says that we should pass it an array. we're gonna pass it first the slot, we're gonna pass it temp, we're gonna pass first to our component this array of navigation, but also we are going to pass it an event that we need to emit. We are going to say function, we're gonna pass here function logout, and then we're going to do console.log. We're gonna pass even logout and then we're going to emit this event. We're gonna pass it to our navbar component. We're gonna say logout, and then we are going to emit this event. But also we need to pass it a slot. We're gonna pass it the slot. Here we're going to pass a template, and then if we get into the navbar, within the navbar.vue file, you're gonna see right here that we just pass it. The name of our slot is nav. It is navigation. Now we are going to grab this data. You can see it is an object. Now I'm gonna get into the admin page.vue, and here the name of our slot is navigation. We're gonna pass here nav, and then here we're gonna pass in the router link. I'm gonna get into the navbar.vue. I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to move it within the admin page.vue. You're gonna pass it right here, and then we're going to uncomment it. Now we're gonna try to see what we get in the browser, and I'm going to refresh. You can see, let me see which kind of error we are getting. Cannot read properties of undefined link. Now it seems that we didn't pass here. You can see right here within the slot, we should pass it an object like this, and then we are going to move within the browser and refresh again and see what we're gonna get within the browser. You can see that we got our menu, but also our component is testable because our test still pass. You can see, wow, everything is okay. Now guys, we're going to test this app name. We need to make sure that it has the name of our app is budget tracker. If we get into the admin page.vue file, you can see right here you got header nav. We need to test it, and then we are going to create a test for that. We're gonna say header nav.spec.ts, and then we're gonna copy content within the login button, and then we're gonna move it within the header nav.spec. The first thing we have to do, we have to import the component, which is the header nav. We're gonna do import. We're gonna pass here header nav. We're gonna pass it should contain app name budget tracker. And then here guys, we are going to mount our component. We're gonna pass here header nav. We're gonna say header nav, and then we're going to pass here. We're gonna get in the header nav. I'm not getting, and then here you can see we need to select this end tag, and then we're gonna pass it an attribute tested, and then we're gonna say app name, and then we're gonna say tested app name, and then we can assign it even app. We have to make sure the name of our component is budget tracker. I'm gonna move within the test. I'm gonna copy this attribute, and here we are going to find these attributes, and then we have to make sure that the test contained within this end tag is budget tracker, which is the name. Right now, if we run our test, it is going to fail. You can see right now, if I pass within the header nav component budget tracker, it is going to pass. We're gonna pass here right now, and then if you take a look to our test, it is going to pass again. The our test pass, header nav should contain app name budget tracker. Everything is passed. Now we're gonna move to serious thing. Now we're gonna create the income and expenses page. Now I'm gonna get into the views folder. You can see we're gonna put in another folder, income and expenses. We're gonna pass the expenses, and then we're gonna put in the page create income or expense, and then we're going to create another page, which is where we're gonna put in the form create income and expenses view. Then we're gonna put in the component folder. We're gonna put in all components, and then we are going to get into the router in order to register this page. Then I'm going to copy I'm gonna put this page within the children property, and here for the path we're gonna say create income or expenses. Then we're gonna pass this name we're gonna pass it to the name property, and then we're going to locate the create income and expenses page.vue, import another page. We're gonna say income and expenses, and then we are going to import our second page. Now we just imported this page within the router. Now we need to put in some boilerplate, and I got a boilerplate for that. I'm not getting to my Sublime text. I'm going to copy this and get into the create income or expense page. I'm gonna put it right there. Now we are going to copy this, put it within the income and expenses page. We're gonna pass here, it's going to be income or expenses. Yeah, we're gonna pass here and expenses. Then we're going to get into the admin page of Vue. If we get into the browser, you're gonna see right here we still have transactions, and then we're going to change the name, and then we're gonna get, you can see we got the navigation array. We are going to pass here the path. It is going to be create income or expenses, and then for the name of the route, we're gonna pass here even income and expenses. We're gonna pass the expenses, and then you're gonna see we got income and expenses. When I'm gonna click on it, you're gonna see we just ran the create income or expenses. Now we need to display right here, we need to display the form, and for the form we need, first of all, I got the design. I'm going to copy it, and then we're going to create a component, create income, or we're gonna pass here the component, the view, then we're gonna put in the code, and then we're going to import a component within the create income or within the create income or expenses page, the view. I'm gonna get in and import a component. Then we're gonna register it. We're gonna pass it to the template tag. I'm going to pass here the core medium. I'm gonna pass here even 10, and then the width, it is going to be increased. Yeah, you can see that we got a beautiful form. Now we need to create also the table component. I'm not getting to the component folder, and then I'm gonna say income or expense table, the view, and then we are going to copy the boilerplate for our table, and then I'm gonna get into within these components and put it right there. And then we're going to write tests. We're going to test these components. First of all, we need to import the component within the income or expense table. It's better to pass here income and expenses instead of all. We are going to remove the all. We're going to pass here income and expenses table. Then we are going to import it. I'm going to pass here the name. We're going to get into the component folder and see how it looks within the browser. I'm going to get into the browser, and you can see right here, guys, that we got the income and expenses page. Alright guys, now we need to test our form but also our table components. Yeah, we are going to start with our table. You can see that our table has two components within it. We have the select input but also the table tag. Now I'm gonna get into my editor. You can see right here we have our components within the income and expenses folder. You can see this is our components, income and expense table. You can see we have a select tag. We're gonna test it, but also the table. Now here you can see within the text folder, I've already created a test file for that component, income and expense table.spec.ts file. I'm not getting. You can see that I've already established test case that we need to handle for that component. The first one should text a prop, and it's gonna contain the ID, name, amount, and user ID. But also our component should emit an event update record, but also should emit another event delete record, and the select tag should contain incomes and expenses text. Now, these are 4 test cases that we need to cover. First of all, we need to pass our income and expense table to the mount function. We're going to create a constant income and expense table, and then we're going to pass it the props, save a data. And here I'm going to create a Mac object. You can see right here we got save a data. Now I'm going to copy this data, and then I'm going to pass it to our array. And then here, guys, you can see that we just passed to our components an array. Now we need to check if within our table we got the name of the expense, it is food, and we got the amount is 100. I'm going to create another constant right here, income and expense table that found the table tag, and then we are going to expect, we're gonna say to contain save a data, that amount, but also for the name, we're gonna pass here the name of the expense or income. Now let's move to our second test case, and then we're going to check if within our income and expense table we got a button. We're gonna pass a tested btn, and then the name it is going to be update. We are going to trigger on this button a click event, and then here we are going to create a constant to check if this button has emitted an event, emit event, and then we're going to call the emitted function. We need that our button emit an event update record. Now we are going to expect that our emit event variable return an array which contain one item. Here I'm gonna pass it right here, and we are done. Now we need to move to the third test case. I'm gonna copy this, and then we got another button within our income and expense table component, which is the delete. Now we are going to find another attribute which is going to be tested btn, and the name is going to be delete. And here we are going to listen that our component emit the delete record event. We're gonna pass it there. Now you can see we got also the select input. We need to check if it contains the incomes and expenses tag. First of all, we need to mount our component as usual. Then we are going to get into within our component and found an attribute. We're gonna say tested option, and then it is going to be income. We're gonna pass here income, and then we're gonna put it we're gonna wrap it within square brackets like this, and then we're going to do find that test like this, and then we're going to select the second option, which is going to be expense, and here the name it is going to be expense. Here we are going to check if the income variable content, we're gonna pass here incomes, but also for our second variable expense here should contain here expenses. We're gonna pass here expenses. And there we go, guys. We just finished writing our test. Now we need to make it pass. I'm gonna get into our component income and expense table, and right here we're going to define a property. We're gonna say save a data. It is going to be an array which contain the ID. We're gonna pass it this object. We're gonna say the type it is going to be a number, the name string, but also we're gonna pass it the amount and user ID. Now we need to define also events. We're gonna do emit, and we are going to pass here our first event that we need to emit is update record. It is gonna take an item. It is going to be a type of this object, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to create an interface for that to make our code a little bit clean. And then we're going to use our interface. We're going to pass it to our array, but also for our item. And then we're going to create our second event. Now here you can see right here, I'm not select. You can see right here, we got the select tag, and we're going to pass it to option. I'm going to get into within our test file, and you can see we got tested option. The first one is income and expense. I'm going to copy this and get into our component and pass it to our first option tag, and then I'm gonna copy the second attribute, which is tested option. The name is expense. I'm gonna copy it, and then I'm going to pass it to our second option tag right here, which is expense. Then right here you can see we got table body, and then we are going to use v4 in order to iterate through the save a data property. We're gonna pass here save a data. And then here we are going to display the ID, the name, the amount. But also within our component, we need to have two button. I'm gonna pass here the class is btn outline, and then I'm gonna say here primary, and then we're gonna pass here edit. But also we're gonna have another button which is going to be the delete button. We're gonna pass here danger like this, and then the label is delete. Now here, guys, you can see if I get into our test file, you can see right here we got two tested btn delete. They're going to pass to the delete button. I'm gonna pass it to the delete button right here, but also we got another attribute tested btn update that we need to the update button. I'm gonna pass it to the updates button, and we just finished. But also we need to emit event. Here we're gonna pass here the first event that I'm going to emit is the update record, but also I'm going to pass it an item, and then we are going to emit another event which is delete record event. And here you can see that we are getting an error. We are going to pass here You can see right here we have here typo. We're gonna pass here delete record like this, and then we're going to get into the command prompt and run our test and see if it is going to pass. If our test it is going to pass, and then you can see right here that we got two tests. Two tests are failed. Should emit update record, but also should emit delete record failed. And you can see this is the error cannot code trigger on empty DOM wrapper. Now let me explain you. You can see right here that we are iterating through the server data array, and since the server data array is empty, they're not going to render these two bar ends, the update and delete. Now I'm gonna get into the income and expense table that aspect the TS file, and here guys we are going to pass to our component data. I'm going to copy this variable right here, server data, and when we are going to click on update record, we need to pass to our component data. That's what I'm going to do. And here first of all we're going to pass to our component an array, and then here the amount should be a string. We're going to pass it an array, and then once we pass it an array, they're going to iterate through this array, and then they're going to display the bar and update, but also the delete. And here guys, I have to check too if within this array, when we are going to call the update record, it is a parameter. As you can see right here, when we have right here update record, we just pass it an item. This is a parameter that our update record function it is going to have. And here we need to ensure that our update record takes a parameter. And then here I'm going to say to equal. I'm gonna copy this object and I'm gonna pass here an array here, and then I'm gonna pass here server data like this. And here I'm going to copy this, and then I'm gonna pass it to our delete, to our third test case. And here I'm gonna copy to this, and then I'm gonna get into the command prompt and see if all our tests are going to pass, guys. And you can see right here guys that all our test cases are passing. Now we're going to test our form component create income expense form, and I've already created a test file for it, create income or expense form that spec the test file. Then here you can see that I've already imported components, and you can see that we have one test case that we need to cover. Should emit submit form event with correct payload. And in order to satisfy this test case, we are going to follow these steps right here. First of all, we need to find input and set the value, simulate form submission as such event has been emitted, as set payload is correct one. And here you can see we got a mark data, input data that we're gonna use. And then here, first of all, we need to mount our form. We're gonna pass our component to the mount function, create income expense form. Then we need to find input, and also you're going to set the value. The first input is the name, and then we are going to do form that's gonna do found. We are going to found an attribute within this component. We're gonna name it tested input, and the name is going to be name, and then we're gonna set the value, and we're gonna do input data that's name. We're gonna copy this and do it for the amount input. I'm gonna pass here amount, but also we need to find another input. We are going to find the radio input. I'm gonna pass here this form that's found. I'm gonna pass here the name of the input. It is the radio input. We're gonna say type is radio, yeah, like this, but also the value of this radio input is going to be income, and we are going to use this input in order to create an income or an expense. But also we're going to find another radio input with the value expense. Then we need to simulate form submission. We're gonna do form that found. We're gonna trigger the submit event, and then here we are going to create a constant emit event to track the name of the event that has been emitted, called the emitted function, and the function that we need to emit is submit form. And then the emit, right here you can see create a variable emit event, returns an array which contains another array. We are going to expect the value, and then we're gonna say to equal, we're gonna pass in input data, and then like this, guys, and we are going to get rid of the name variable but also the amount. I'm gonna remove the amount. Now we're gonna get into the creating income or expense form in order to make our test pass. I'm not getting, and here we're gonna pass here a first attribute to the name input, tested input, and then here is going to be the name. We're gonna copy that, and we are going to do the same thing for the amount. Tested input, right here we're gonna pass here amount, but also the label is amount. And then you can see right here that we got two radio input, and the value of the first one is income, and for the second one is expense. Now we need to get into the command prompt to see if our test is going to pass. I'm not getting. You can see that we are getting an error, and right here I need to pass here for the V model. I need to pass here the amount, and then we're gonna get into the command prompt and see if our test is going to pass. Right now you can see should emit submit form event with correct payload. Alright guys, as we already finished testing our form and table components, now we are going to feed them with server data. First of all, I got a code that I'm going to explain. You can see within the source folder we got HP folder that I've created, and we got two files, app.ts. It is an object and it has two properties, a base URL and API base URL of our Laravel server. Now we can see we got a second file, make it direct.ts. We got a function that allows to make HTTP request to our Laravel server. Now we created this function in this video, and within this function, within the try catch, there's a problem. Now let me explain you that. Let's say you need to create an income or expense. Once you click on the create button and we have an error on our Laravel server, the button will change its status to the previous state because of that error, and that ruins the user experience. What if we define an HTTP timer for our HTTP request? If we have defined an HTTP timer of 6 seconds and the user click on the create button and we have an error on our server, after 6 seconds the request will be cancelled since our Laravel server doesn't respond, and that is the benefit. Now let's refactor our function. Now guys, let's refactor this function in order to avoid such error. And I'm going to copy the fetch function, and we are going to use the promise.res function, and it takes an array of promise. The fetch function returns the promise, and then here I'm going to create another function. I'm gonna copy it, I've already created it, and then I'm gonna pass it right here and then explain. HTTP timeout. This function returns a promise and it throws an error after 6 seconds. I'm going to pass it right here, and I'm gonna pass it the message. I'm gonna say server error. And this is the error that we're gonna get after 6 seconds if our Laravel server doesn't respond. I'm gonna assert the response variable as response type like this, and then I'm gonna pass it right here, and then we are going to get rid of the error. We're gonna pass here response like this. But also guys, we got some global components within the pages folder, and then you're gonna see components right here. I've already created to this folder. But also you can see we got base btn.view, base input.view, but also the error component.view. I've created these components in this video and in this video. Go check it out guys. And here I'm gonna get into the base btn.view file. You're gonna see right here it has two properties, the loading but also the label. Now here you can see we got another input, the base input. This base input, we are going to use it in order to avoid creating every time a bootstrap input. Instead of this, we are going to use this. Now you can see that it is simple to use, and also you can see we got error.view. This component, it allows to display validation errors. You can see right here we just imported error object from view validate/core. And we are iterating through an array of errors, and then we are going to wrap our base input within it. It is going to look like this guys. If you already follow this video or this video, you probably know how it works guys. Now guys, you might be thinking that I'm going to write tests for the base btn.view, base input.view, and error.view components. No, These components are not critical, really. And you have to choose within your app critical component that you're going to test. And here in our case, I choose to write test to our top nav bar, left navigation menu, and our table, but also to our form right here. I choose that these are critical components of our application. But also I test this bar end, the login bar end. We have to make sure that the label of our login bar end is sign up or login with Google. Now I choose that these are critical components of our app. Now in your case, guys, when you are working on an application, you have to choose critical components of your app. You have to choose that I'm going to write test for the components A and B, and for the C, you can let it like this. Now we are going to interact with our endpoints, expenses, API/expenses, but also incomes endpoints. Yeah, we are going to interact with two endpoints. Now here's the thing, guys. Let me move to the dashboard, and when the user is going to select incomes, we're gonna make an NetP request to the incomes endpoint. When it's gonna select expenses, we're gonna make a NetP request to the expenses endpoint. Now I'm gonna get into the income and expenses. I'm not creating another folder. I'm gonna say actions, and then I'm not creating an asynchronous function. It is going to be a composable use. If you doesn't know what is a composable, go check it out this video. I teach everything you need to know about it. And then here I'm gonna say function use get income, incomes or expenses. It is going to take a data type. It is going to be a variable that we're gonna write type for it. Exports enum data type income, and the second data type is going to be expense. Here we are going to create another function, get income and expenses. I'm going to copy this. Then we are going to pass here a return statement, and then we are going to return our function. We're going to pass it to the return statement. Now here, guys, we are going to create also another variable, const loading, and then we're going to assign it to ref. The default value is going to be false. I'm going to pass here try catch block, and then we are going to call our function make it period. We're going to pass here wait. This one, it is an asynchronous function, and then we're gonna pass here wait, make it period, and then you can see we're gonna pass it a generic tag, and it takes the C input. Here I'm not getting to the income and expense table component, and here you can see we got an interface. I'm gonna copy this, and then I'm gonna put it within the get incomes or expense. I'm gonna export it, and then we're gonna go ahead and get into the income and expense table, and then we are going to import it. Right here we need to pass the T input, the input type. Here right now the input type is undefined. We are going to pass right now the T response, the type of data that we want to receive from the server. We're gonna say we're gonna receive an object of I income and expense. We're gonna pass it right here. I'm gonna pass here the endpoints. Right now we're gonna pass here incomes, and then we are going to pass it the HP verb is get, but also the input we're gonna say it is going to be undefined. Then we need to make our endpoint dynamic. We're going to pass it the URL constant, and then here you can see we are checking if the data type is equal to income, so we're going to return incomes endpoints, else the expenses endpoint. We're gonna move the data type variable to the get income or expenses function. I'm gonna pass it right here. Then here you can see this is the data type that we define. Yeah, it is an object that takes an array of income and expenses. I'm going to create a type alias, and then we're gonna assign it this object. We are going to pass it to our make it period function. Now here we're going to create another constant. We're gonna say save data, and then we are going to tap our reactive property with response type. We're gonna pass it there. We are going to assign it an object, and we are going to assert it to response type like this. Then we are going to assign our save data, that value. We're gonna assign it, and here you can see we got the loading variable. We are going to change the state of it when we're gonna make our HP request. And then we're gonna say that value is going to be to false. Yeah, then we're going to return our saver data. We're gonna pass it to the return statement, and then we're going to move. We're going to remove right here a sync, and then we are going to export our use get incomes expenses composable. We're gonna move within the income and expenses page that view. Then here we are going to call first the unmounted hook, and then we are going to say it takes a function, and this function, it is going to be an asynchronous function. Now we need to extract data from our composable. We're gonna assign it, use get incomes or expenses, and then we need to import it like this. And here we need to import also the function get income or expenses, and then we are going to pass here a weight, and then here we need to pass it the default data type. We're gonna do data type that income. This is the default data type that we're gonna fetch when we are going to call this function. And here you can see that we are getting an error right here. Is declared but its value is never read, and then we're going to pass it to our component income and expenses. We're gonna pass it right here, server data. We're gonna assign it server data like this, and then the error, it is going to disappear. Now we're gonna try to see which server data does not exist on type. I'm not getting to the within this file use get incomes or expenses, and here you can see right here we pass here server data. You should add here an R, and then here we're gonna get rid of the error. I'm gonna move within the income and expenses, no error. Now I'm gonna get into the income and expense table, and right here you can see this is the data of our prop server data. It takes an array of income and expenses. Now here I'm gonna get into the income, and you can see right here we are getting an error because we just passed it our prop an object which contain a data array. Now in order to get rid of this error, we are going to do that data. Yeah, because if you take a look to our endpoints, you can see that it returns an object, and this object contains a data property which is an array. Now I'm gonna get into within our app. You can see that we just render data from the server, and here if we do this, we just pass it this server data, and then we get into our income and expense table, and right here we do these things. We just pass here that data property, and then we assign it an array. And in order to display data, we need to pass here that data. Yeah, and if we get into the browser, we are going to display data. I'm gonna refresh, and then you're gonna see right now we got data. Yeah, you can see we got data from the server, but we got an issue within our command prompt. You can see that our test case failed. You can see income and expense table should take a prop an array. Yeah, all our test case of income and expense table failed. Now we have to respect this construct, and here I'm not getting this table, and I'm not getting rid of the data property so that our test can pass. And here too, I'm gonna pass here server data, and then I'm gonna get into the income expenses that view, and here I'm gonna pass here that data so that our test can pass like this. And then we're gonna get into the browser, the command prompt. You're gonna see they're gonna run our tests, and everything works pretty well. And if we get into the browser, we're gonna display data. Now guys, by default, you can see right here we are selecting only incomes. Now we need to select also expenses when we switch to expenses. Now what I'm going to do, we are going to get into within our table, and we need to add another event that we need our table to emit. First of all, we are going to get into the test file of this component. I'm not going to copy this code right here, emit another event. I'm gonna copy that and put it right here. Now the name of the event, I'm gonna get into the income and expense. I'm gonna grab this event, get incomes or expenses, and then I'm gonna put it right here, should emit this function. And then here we are going to remove props. We are not going to pass prop to our income and expense table, and then we are going to get in and select a component, an HTML element, which is the select tag, and then we are going to trigger a change event on it, and then they're going to emit this event right here. I'm gonna pass here get incomes or expenses, and then here we're gonna say expect emit to have the length of 1, because this emit variable right here returns an array. And then we are going to get into the command prompt, and then you're gonna see that we got one test failed. Yeah, you can see right now we got one test which is failed, should emit getting comes expensive. It failed. Now we need to make it pass. And to make it pass, I'm not getting to within this component, and then I'm gonna copy first this event and get into this component, and right here I'm going to define another event. I'm gonna pass here, I'm gonna say it's gonna take this event, and the data type, you're gonna pass here a constant. I'm gonna say data type is going to be a type of data. I'm gonna pass here data type. We already created this type. Yeah, it is an enum type. And then here we are going to do this. We are going to say right here, you can see on our select tag we have two value, incomes and expenses. And then here I'm gonna create the vmore attribute, and I'm gonna pass here a constant. I'll say data type, and then I'm going to say ref. The default value, it is going to be income, and I'll pass here data type income, and then here we're gonna pass here the data type variable, and then we are going to pass it the event is change. We're gonna pass a change, and then we are going to emit our event get income or expenses, and then we are going to pass it the data type. And right here we are going to emit this event. I'm gonna pass it right here, and then here if we get into the browser we are going to refresh, and then you're gonna see when we are going to, by default, the select income. So you can see right here the income is YouTube. Now we need to select expenses. When I'm gonna select expenses, you're gonna see they're going to switch to expenses. You can see right here you got transportation. Now we are going to display the loading elements under our select input, and I'm gonna get into the getting comes or expense.ts, and right here you can see loading that value is false. We should pass true and then false, true, and right here we're gonna pass false. And then I'm gonna get into the income and expense table, and then we're gonna pass here the slot. So the name of the slot is loading. Then we're gonna get into the income and expenses page, the view, and right here we're gonna pass here the template so that we can be able to pass the data to our slot. We're gonna pass here loading, and then we're gonna pass here a span tag, and then we're gonna do if. We're gonna pass here loading, and then loading and then here we're gonna extract the loading. You can see if I get into the getting comes expense.ts, we can see that we don't pass the loading variable to the return statement. We're gonna pass it right here, and then I'm gonna get into the income and expenses view page, and then you can see right here we just extract the loading variable, and then we pass it to our loading slot. Yeah, you can see we just pass it right here, and then I'm gonna move within the browser, and then I'm gonna refresh, and then you can see right now we are getting loading. If we try to make a switch, yeah, you can see loading, yeah, like this, guys. And if we get into the command prompt, you're gonna see that there are test pass of income and expense, but we got a warning right here, require prop saver data. And you can see when we add this test, this test case should emit getting comes or expenses, we don't pass here the prop. That's why we are getting a warning. And to get rid of the warning, we are going to pass a data to our prop right here, to our components. I'm gonna copy this and put it right there, but also I'm gonna pass to this function. I'm gonna get into the console so we get, and you can see that we still have one warning, and then I'm gonna pass it right here in order to get rid of the error. I'm gonna pass this data right there, and then if you get into the command prompt, you're gonna see right now we don't have any warning. Now we are going to refactor this component. You can see right here every time we are passing here saver data, I'm gonna get rid of this data right here, and then I'm gonna pass it here. It is going to be accessed globally, and then I'm gonna remove right here saver data everywhere. Now you can see that our test file is clean now. Yeah, you can see we just pass here saver data, and then we can get access to this saver data in each test case. Yeah, you can see. All right, guys, now let's work on our form. When the user is gonna pick income, they're gonna create an income. When it's gonna pick expense, they're gonna create an expense. First of all, we're going to get into the actions folder, and then we're going to create in a file, create income or expense TS, and then I'm not getting the get income or expense.ts. I'm going to copy the content and put it within the create income or expense.ts. Now here I'm going to modify the input. You can see if we get into the within this component create income or expense from the view, we got right here the tab I create income or expense, this interface. I'm gonna copy it and put it within this action, and here I'm going to export it. I'll pass the export, and I'm going to import it, and here you can see right now the response type, it is going to be the message. You're going to get a message from the server. It is going to be a type of string, pass here string, and then here we are going to pass here the name of our composable is going to say create income or expense. The name of our function is going to be create income or expense. For the type, we're going to pass it I create income or expense interface. We're going to pass it where there is undefined. For the HTTP verb, we're going to pass here post, and then we are going to pass to our make HTTP rec the input, and the input it is going to be a type of telephone creating income, and then we are going to display the message. We're going to do data that message. We are going to return the create income or expense function. We're going to pass it to the return statement, but also the loading. Now we are going to get into the create income or expense form, the view page, and we are going to import our composable create income or expense. We are going to also to extract our function. Then we are going to create an asynchronous function. Here we're going to say save income or expense, and we're gonna pass it the input, and this input is going to be a type of I form create income or expense. Then we are going to await our create income or expense because it returns a promise. We're gonna pass it the input, and you can see that our component create income or expense form, it's emit an event. We are going to emit that event submit form, and then we're going to pass it our function save income, or we're going to pass here or expense like this. Now we are going to move within these components create income or expense, and here we are going to use for our input, we are going to add the validation. We are going to remove that, and we are going to use the array component. I'm going to pass that so that we can have a code which is clean. Yeah, we need to do the same thing for the amount, and here I'm gonna pass here the amount, and then I'm passing amount. Now we are going to import the array component but also the base input, and here you can see that we are passing here button. We are going to use our base btn. It takes the loading but also it takes the label. We're gonna pass here label, and then here I'm going to add another prop, define a prop for our component. We're going to say we're going to pass here define prop, and then the name of the prop is going to be loading. It is a boolean. Now we need to import our component. We're going to import the array component, the base input, but also the base btn. Now right here we are going to import view validate. I'm not go to view validate documentation. In order to use view validate, we need to import the composable use view validate, and but also the validators. I'm gonna copy this, and then I'm gonna put it within our form components. But also in order to use it, we need to create a constant v dollar, and then we are going to assign the use view validate composable. It takes the rules but also the states. I'm gonna copy that, and within the rules object, we're gonna pass it our input. We're gonna pass in our input. Now here we're gonna pass first the name and the amount, and then we're gonna say the amount is going to be a type of decimal, and also it takes the user ID. Now here you can see the use validates function from view validate. It takes the rules but also the state. The state, it is our input, and then we're going to create a function that is going to run validation on our form. Function validate, we are going to create a constant result, and then we are going to do v $value.validate like this, and it returns a promise. You can see if we over the validate function, it returns a promise. I'm gonna pass here a wait, and then if the validation pass, we are going to emit our submit form. we're going to pass here await because it's an asynchronous function. It returns a promise, and then we're going to pass here emit. Then we're going to pass here submit form, but also we're going to pass here the value that input that value. We are going to reset the validation, and then we are going to replace it. We're going to pass it to our submit that prevent function. We are going to call this function, and within the validate function, they are going to emit our submit form with the input value. If we take a look to our input, we have the name, amount, and the user ID. The user ID right now is null because we have here implemented the authentication. Right now, we're going to pass it 1. It is going to be a default value, and then we're going to change it when we're going to implement the authentication. I'm going to move within the create income or expense, the view page. You can see right here we got some errors, and right now the create income or expense function takes the data type but also the input. The data type is the first parameter. Right now I'm going to pass here data type. By default they're going to create an income, and if we select an expense they're going to create an expense. And also you can see we are getting right here an error create income or expense form. We need to pass it the loading. Here, we are going to get into the browser in order to test if we are going to create an income. And try to click on create, and then you can see we just display validation message, but also the amount. Here, if I pass a string, you can see value must be decimal. I'm going to pass here 200, and the name of the income is going to be salary. Click send and get into the network tab and see what we're going to get. I'm going to click send. Yeah, we're getting a message right here. We got a message saved successfully. We just created an income. It is an income. You can see. Now we are going to change this message saved successfully to saved income successfully. I'm going to get into the income controller, and you can see we got the public function store. And here we're going to pass here income, but also for the updates function, we're going to pass here income. Then we're going to do the same thing within the expense controller. Expense, and then here to expense. And then we're going to move within the test folder. We got expense feature test. And then we're going to pass here expense. And then we're going to move within the second test case. Test should update expense. Update expense as the message. And then we are going to move within the income feature test. We're going to do the same thing. Right here, we're going to pass here saved income successfully, but also for the update test case, we're going to pass here update income successfully. There you go. And then once done, you're going to see that I actually have already created the helper folder. I'm not getting to the toast notification.ts. You can see here we import the use tools function from Vue tools notification package, and we got a function show error that we're going to use to display error message that came from the server, but also the success message. We're going to use this function in order to show success message. Now, in order to display the toast notification message, we are going to get into the main.ts, and we are going to import it. We're going to pass it to the Vue instance, and we're going to copy the toast plugin, and then here we're going to do app.use. We're going to pass it to the Vue instance. We are going to register also our array. We're going to do app.use. I'm not getting to the create income or expense.ts. And here we display our message within the console by passing console.log. And here we're going to pass here success message. And if we got an error from the server, we're going to pass here this. We're going to do show error. We're going to call the function show error. And then we're going to pass it error. We're going to assert the error is error interface like this. And then we're going to do that message. And then we're going to display the message. Now you can see if you get into the browser, you're going to see right here, guys, we need to create also an expense. We are going to add here a checkbox that we can pick an income if we need to create an income or an expense. I'm not getting to within our create income or expense form. And then here I'm going to remove this radio input. I'm not remove that, but also the first one right here. And then we're going to replace it with the checkbox so that we can make things easy. And I'm going to create a reactive property. And then I'm going to say const checkbox input, and then we're going to assign it to ref. It's going to take an object. The first property is going to be val with a value of true. The second one is going to be the label. We're going to call data type enum tab, and then we're gonna pass here income. It is going to be the default value. Now here I'm going to create a function, change checkbox status, and then we're going to do checkbox input that value that val is different. We're gonna pass here is different from checkbox that value that val, and then it is going to toggle between true or false. If the checkbox that value that val is equal to true, we are going to do here right here that label is equal to data type and then that income like this. Else we're gonna do checkbox that value that label. After that, we are going to call our function change checkbox status. I'm gonna copy this, and then we're gonna call this function on click event. We are going to pass it right here on our checkbox. We're gonna add here on click event. They're going to change the status. You can see right here we have here a reactive property checkbox input, and I'm going to modify our submit function, this function that we need to emit when we are going to create an income or expense. We are going to pass it another parameter. We're gonna say expense or income, and then we're gonna type it with data type, and then I'm gonna pass here the default value. I'm gonna do checkbox that val that label. Now I'm gonna move within the create income expenses that view page. You can see right here we are passing here save income expense. This function takes an input, but also we're gonna pass it income or expense, and then we're going to pass it to our create income or expense, and then we are going to pass it the value. Now we are going to try to create an income, and then salary, and then 200. By default we select income, and then I'm gonna click create, and then you're gonna see, yeah, we are getting a message saved successfully. But also I can create an expense. I'm gonna pass here even food, and then here I'm going to pass here $10. I'm gonna switch to expense, you can see, and then we are going to create. Yeah, you can see we got a message saved expense successfully. Now, if we get into the command prompt, you're going to see that the test case of the create income or expense form failed. You can see the test case should emit submit form event with correct payload. It failed. Yeah, because of this code that we have added within our component, you can see we add in more logic and our component becomes more complex. Now we're going to check if the user has interacted with our form. To do so, I'm gonna get into the test file of this component, create income expense form, and then here I'm gonna try to change the test case to should have a submit event. And then right here, I'm going to pass here, we're going to check only if the user has interacted with our form. And here, first of all, we are going to remove that, but also we are going to copy this tested input. We are going to pass it to the base input for the name, but also for the amount. For the amount, we're going to pass here amount. Now we are going to pass here the checkbox. We need to make sure that within our form component, we got a checkbox input. And then also we are going to check if the user has triggered a submit event. We are going to do trigger from that trigger, submit that prevent event, and then here we are going to copy that, and we're going to pass it to the expect function, and then we are going to assert if the user has triggered a submit event. We're going to say to have property, and then we're going to pass it the submit event. And then here we are going to get rid of the name constant, but also the amount. Now, if we get into the command prompt, you're gonna see that our test it is going to pass. Yeah, you can see right now we are getting errors. Right here, we should pass here, we should remove data within the emitted function. You can see that the test pass here should have a submit event, but we got a warning, missing require prop loading. And then we are going to pass it to our component. I'm gonna remove the comment, and then here I'm going to pass here the props, and then we are going to pass it loading. We can pass it even false, and then we're gonna get into the command prompt and see if the test it is going to pass. And then you're gonna see, yeah, the test passed and we don't have any warning. Alright guys, now we're gonna interact with the delete endpoint. And here I'm gonna get into the income and expense table. You can see we got the update record, but also the delete record. Right now we pass it one parameter. We're gonna add another parameter, the data type. We need to determine if we need to delete or update an income or an expense. And then I'm gonna pass it the data type property, and we are going to pass it, we are going to copy this reactive property, the data type, and then we're gonna pass it to our buttons right here. We're gonna pass it to the update record, but also for the delete record. And then if I get into the command prompt, you're going to see that we got two test cases of this component which are felt. We got should emit update record felt, but also should emit delete record felt. Now we need to make our test pass again. You can see we got errors. I'm gonna get into the test file of this component, and then you can see we got should emit record. Now here, first of all, in order to know which kind of data we are getting, I'm gonna pass here, I'm gonna try to debug a bit. I'm gonna do console.log emit, and then I'm gonna get into the command prompt and see what I'm getting. You can see right here, I'm getting an array which contains an object and an item. Yeah, we got income. And here, in order to make our test pass again, we are going to pass here income like this. You're going to import data type because it is an enum type. We're gonna import it, and then we're gonna pass here income, but also we're gonna do the same thing for the expense. I'm gonna copy this, and then we're going to pass it to the delete test case. Here, I'm gonna pass it right here. And right here you can see that all our test cases are passing. Now we are going to install Vue Suite Alerts, and you are going to type npm Vue Suite Alert 2 if you haven't already installed this package. And then we are going to create a file, and then we are going to use it. I'm gonna get into the helper folder. You're going to see right here we got the helper folder. I'm gonna get into the helper folder, and then we're going to create in another file. You're gonna say Suite Alert, and then we're gonna say that tiers. And then we're gonna put in the content. And right here we need to pass the Suite Alert 2 to the Vue instance. And then I'm gonna get into again within the main.ts, and then we are going to pass. We just import the Vue Suite Alert 2, but also the CSS, and then we are going to pass this Vue Suite Alert to the Vue instance by doing app.use. We're gonna pass it right there so that we can be able to use it within our app. And then here I'm going to get into the views folder, and then we are going to create another action which is going to be the delete income, or I'm gonna say delete income or expense.ts. And then I'm going to copy content within create income or expense.ts and put it within the delete action. And then I'm going to modify. Right here, we are going to get rid of this interface, and the name of our composable is going to be use delete. We're gonna say delete income or expense, and then we are going to pass right here the name of our function is delete income expense. We are going to pass this function to the return statement, and then we are going to pass it. It is going to take two parameters. The first one is the data type, and the second one is the input. I'm going to pass here export type delete input, and then we're gonna pass it the ID is going to be a type of number, yeah, like this. And then we are going to use our delete input type. We're gonna pass it to the second parameter, but also we're going to pass it to our make HP rec, and here we're going to pass here the HP verb is delete. Now we are going to import our composable use delete income or expense, and then I'm gonna get into the income and expense.vue page, delete income or expense, and then we are going to extract a function delete income or expense. And then we're going to create another function, an asynchronous function. We are going to pass here, we're gonna say remove income, or we're gonna pass here remove income or expense, and then we're gonna pass it to parameter. We're gonna pass here the parameter is income or expense. And then I'm gonna get into the table component in order to see which kind of data that we're gonna use in order to tap our income expense parameter. I'm gonna get into the table component, and then we're going to copy income and expense interface, and then we are going to use it. We're gonna pass it right here, but also the second parameter, it is going to be the data type. We're gonna pass here data type, and then we're gonna pass here data type, and this is our enum type. and we are going to call another function, a suite alert function, confirm deletion. This function we have already created. I'm not explaining you how it works. I'm not getting to the helper folder, and right here within the helper folder, you're gonna see we got suite alert.ts, and here it returns a promise, and then we pass here swal instance, and then we invoke a function fire, and then we are going to show a user, do you want to delete this? If the user accepts, we're gonna delete the user data. We are going to run an instruction, and then here I'm gonna go back within my file, and here we're going to call our function delete income or expense. We're gonna pass it right here, and right here you can see that we pass here income or expense. And then if we over our delete income or expense function, it takes two parameters. The first one is the data type, and the second one is the delete input. We're gonna pass here the data type, and then for the delete input, we're going to pass an object, and then we're gonna do income or expense. We're gonna pass here that ID like this, and then we're going to pass here a sync. We're going, because delete income or expense return a promise, and then we are going to await the deletion. After that, we need to emit now this function, remove income or expense. Right here to our form, we are going to emit another function. We're going to pass here delete record, and then we are going to assign it to remove income or expense. And then we are going to see, I'm going to click on delete, and then you can see right now we are getting a message. Are you sure? Do you want to delete this? When we're going to click yes, we are going to delete this row right here. But also I need to add something before we delete a row. And then here, right here, you can see we just delete right here. You can see we just call the delete income or expense function. And I'm going to call another function. Like I'm gonna call this function get incomes or expense. We are going to refresh the table. I'm gonna pass it right here. I'm gonna copy it and pass it. We are going to call it after the deletion, and then I'm gonna get into the browser again and refresh. Then I'm going to delete an income. You can see right here we got YouTube. I'm going to delete that. Yes, and then you're going to see, yeah, it disappeared. We just delete an income, and then I'm not switch to expenses, and then we're going to try to delete an expense. You can see right here we got transportation. I'm not click again delete, and then you're gonna see that they're going to delete the transportation, and there we go, guys. Alright guys, now we're gonna interact with the updates endpoint. When we're gonna click on the edit bar end, we are going to pass data of a given row to our form. And to do so, we're gonna use Pinia. Pinia is a state management that allows to share data between components. If you doesn't know what is Pinia, go check it out this video. And then here guys, I'm gonna get into within our project, and here you can see by default, when we install Pinia, we got a stores folder and we got a Pinia store Canada.ts file. And then I'm gonna copy and get into the income and expenses. And then we're going to create a Pinia store. The name is income or expense.ts. And then we're gonna put in this code. We're gonna pass it our name, use income or expense store like this. And then we are going to pass it. The name is going to be income or expense. We're gonna get into within our component folder, and we got the create income or expense form. And then right here, I'm gonna copy. You can see right here we got the input. Input is a reactive property, but also we got the checkbox. I'm going to move these two reactive property within our Pinia store. I'm gonna copy that and put it within our Pinia store. I'm gonna pass it right here, and then we are going to import this interface, but also we are going to pass here. We are going to import the data type enum type. Now we are going to return the input reactive property, but also the checkbox input. And then we are going to get into the create income or expense form.view. Then we are going to import our use income or expense store within it. And then we are going to replace the checkbox input that value with income. We're gonna pass, first of all, we're gonna pass income, that checkbox, and then we're gonna remove that value. I'm not copy that, and then I'm gonna replace that using a shortcut. I'm gonna pass it right here, and then we're gonna click replace all. Then we are going to do the same thing for the label, And then here, guys, you can see that we're getting an error for the input. We need to get access to it. And then I'm gonna pass here income or expense that input. Right here, you can see input that name and like this income or expense store that input that amount. And then, but also we need to pass here the label. We're gonna do income or expense. After that, guys, we need to fix an error. You can see right here. Now here we're going to pass it the income or expense that value. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get into within the actions folder. You're gonna see we got create income or expense.ts. And here on this interface, iForm create income or expense, we're gonna add another property. It is going to be the ID. We're gonna say it is going to be a type of number. And then we are going to create two functions, create and update. And then here we're gonna create two functions. The first one, it is going to be function create, and then we're gonna pass it. It is going to take the input. I'm gonna copy that right here, and then we're gonna put it within this function. We are going to return the data. I'm gonna return the data. I'm gonna do return data. I'm gonna pass the URL but also the input. And here I'm going to duplicate that function, and then I'm gonna rename it update. And for the HTTP verb, we're gonna pass here put instead of pause. Now, like this, guys. Now we're gonna get into the income or expense.ts store, and then right here we are going to add here the ID property. We're gonna pass it the value of now. Yeah, like this. Then we're going to create another property, edit. We're going to assign it false. We're going to use this reactive property in order to decide if we need to update or create an income or an expense. We're going to pass it to the return statement. And then I'm going to get into the create income or expense.ts file. And we are going to get rid of the error. We're going to pass here now so that the error right here can disappear. And then I'm gonna go back, and right here we're gonna pass to our create income or expense function. We're gonna pass it another parameter, edit the type boolean. And right here we are going to use this boolean property, edit, and then we're gonna say we're gonna use ternary operator. If edit is true, we're gonna call a wait function. We're gonna call create. We're gonna pass it the URL but also the input. Else we are going to call update. We're gonna pass it the URL and then the input. After that, I'm gonna get into the create income or expense.ts Vue file, and here you can see we are getting an error, create income or expense. Now we are going to pass another parameter to our function, and I'm going to extract the edit property. I'm gonna pass a const and extract edit, and then we are going to use our composable use income or expense store. And then we're going to pass it to our function. Then we are going to get into within the income and expenses Vue file. And here, guys, we are going to create a function. We're going to pass data to form. And then we're going to pass it the income, but also the data type. I'm going to copy this. We are going to invoke our function by emitting the update record function. And here we are going to import the use router composable. I'm gonna pass here const router and then use router composable. Right here, I'm gonna do router that push, and then we're gonna pass it the path of the page that we need to move to. We are going to import our pinner, so we're gonna do use income or expense store. Then we have within it we have the input. We're gonna do input, and then we're gonna use the structuring. We are going to spread the income or expense data, this object. Make a check if data type is equal to data type that expense. We are going to modify the checkbox. I'm gonna copy this, and then I'm going to do checkbox, and we are going to assign it. The var is going to be to false, but also the label we're gonna pass it data type that expense. I'm gonna copy this and pass it to the label. And then we're going to pass our pass data to form function. We are going to pass it to record function. And then we're going to pass it to it and change the value of the edit property. We're going to say edit by default. When we're going to call pass data to form function, we're going to change the value of edit to true. And then by default, when we're going to land on this page, we're going to change it to false. And then I'm going to get into the within our form right here. We're going to get into the create income or expense form. And then here I'm gonna do class bindings, and then here I'm going to check if the edit property is equal to true. we are going to do btn. We're gonna return btn primary, else we're gonna pass here btn warning, but also we need to change the label. For the label, we're gonna pass this right there. But also, I'm not getting to the create income or expense.ts. We are going to reset the input. First of all, we need to import our store. We're gonna do cons, and then we're gonna do income or expense. Then we're going to reset. We're gonna say once we just create or update an income or an expense, we are going to pass the edit property, the value of false. But also right here, you can see we have right here an error. If edit is true, we're gonna pass here update, and then here create. Yeah, we got. And also we are going to reset the input. We're gonna pass here that input, and then we're gonna assign it an empty object. Then we're gonna assert it to this interface as I form create income or expense. Then I'm gonna move within the browser, and I'm going to try to modify the row with ID free. I'm gonna click edit, and right here you can see we got freelancing. And then I'm going to pass here Upwork, and I'm going to click update, and you can see that we're getting a message invalid input. Now we're gonna get into the console to see which kind of data we're getting back from our saver. And it is an object, it contains an errors array, but also the message. Now we are going to iterate through this array. We are going to make a check. We're gonna do this. Right here you can see if we over the error, it is type of unknown. And here we are going to check if type of errors, that errors, it is not undefined. If it is not undefined, we're going to iterate through this array. And then we're gonna do this. We're gonna first assert. We're gonna assert our error property to an object which contains errors. And the type of errors, it is an array of string. Then we are going to do that errors, and it is different from undefined. And if it is different from undefined, we are going to iterate through this array. We are going to display the message show error. We're going to pass in the message like this. And then we're going to get into the browser and try to test again. You can see I'm going to click again. We are getting a message. The name field must not be greater than 15 characters. And right here, I'm going to pass here even freelancing with an S. So try to see if we are going to update, but also the amount I'm going to pass here 1,900. And then click update, and then we're gonna see, you can see we're getting a message updated income successfully. I'm gonna click income and expenses to see if the amount it is going to change. And right here you can see that we got freelancings, but also the amount change. Now guys, if we get into again within the command prompt, you're going to see that our test failed. Yeah, should have a submit event because we have added within our component opinion. We need to add opinion within our test. Now, what we are going to do, I'm not getting to our test file, and we are going to add opinion. I'm not getting to first the main.ts. And right here, you can see we just import the opinion instance, create opinion, and then we pass it to our Vue instance. We're going to do the same thing within our test file. And here, first of all, I'm going to import opinion. Then we're going to pass it to the mount function. And then here we are going to add another property global, and this property takes an object and it takes a plugins array. We're gonna pass it, and then our test it is going to pass again. First of all, I'm gonna get into the create income or expense form, and here I'm going to add the attribute tested input equal amount, and then I'm gonna get into again within the command prompt and see if our test it is going to pass again. You can see guys, our test pass again. Alright guys, now we need to set up the authentication on our Vue app. We need that our Vue app interact with our Laravel server, and to do so, we are going to use Laravel Passport package in order to generate the access token that we're going to use in order to get access to protected resource. Now, first of all, in order to install Laravel Passport, you need to enable the Sodium and the Zip extensions within your exam server. You're going to open your exam server, and then you're going to click on config, and then get into the php.ini file. Once you open this file, you're gonna look for Sodium extension, and then here you can see I've already enabled this extension. In order to enable this extension, you need just to remove the semicolon. Once done, you need also to enable the zip extension by removing the semicolon. Then you're gonna rerun your Apache server. If it was running, you need to rerun it. so that the zip and the sodium extension can work pretty well. You're gonna go at laravel.com and then you're gonna copy this command within your command prompt. At the end of the installation process, you're gonna see this message. Would you like to use UUID for all client IDs? You're gonna tap yes. Now here guys, we need to continue with the installation process. We're gonna add the has API token street to within the user model. You're gonna add this tree right here. Then you're going to add this driver within the config folder /of.php. You're gonna copy this line right here, and then you're gonna get into this file right here. You're gonna get into the config folder, and then you're gonna see of.php file. You're gonna pass it to the guards array. You're gonna pass it right there. And we're gonna continue. Now we need to deploy passport keys. In order to deploy passport keys, you're gonna type this command php artisan passport calling keys, and then you're going to continue, and you can see now you need to publish passport by typing php artisan vendor publish. Once done, you can see right here we get two environment variable. We got passport private key, but also passport public key. You're gonna copy it, and then you're gonna get into within your env file. Here I got the passport private key, and this is the key that I've already generated using the OpenSSL. I'm not sure how to use it, but also I'm gonna pull down the link in description of OpenSSL. It is a cryptographic tool. And then here, but also you can see that I've already generated the passport public key. Now, in order to generate these two keys, I'm gonna open SSL, and then right here, I've already downloaded OpenSSL. I'm gonna run this tool, and then I'm gonna run it. And we are going to tap this command. Let me show you the command. You're gonna tap this command. In order to generate the private key, you're gonna tap this. I'm gonna copy this and get into the OpenSSL, and then you're gonna tap enter. They're going to generate the private key, but also we need to generate the public key. I'm gonna copy the second command in order to generate the public key, and then I'm tap the second command. Now, if I get into within the OpenSSL folder, we got public key, but also we got the private key.pem. I'm gonna drag the private key within my Sublime test. You're gonna copy all of that and get into your env file, and then you're gonna copy right here echo, and then you're gonna copy your key, but also you need a public key. And here you're gonna see right here we got another file right here, which is the public key.pem. You're gonna move it within your Sublime text, and then the public key. Here's the public key. You're gonna copy it, and then you're gonna get into your env file, and then you're gonna pass it right here. Now we need to go back to laravel.com, and here we haven't yet finished with the installation. You can see right here we're on the section token lifetimes, and here you can see by default Passport issues long-lived access tokens that expire after 1 year. And in order to define a shorter token, we are going to copy this line right here and add them within the boot function. We are going to copy these lines and get into within the app service provider, and then we are going to add them right there. But also I've already added another line, which is passport hash client secret, this. But also you need to import passport. You can see I've already imported right here. This is the path. Now let's go back to the doc, and here guys, we're on the section issuing access tokens. We're going to scroll down again all the way to this point that you're gonna see. Right here you can see authorization code grant with C. Proof key for code exchange. Yeah, you can see the authorization code grant with proof key code exchange is a secure way to authenticate single page application or native application to access your API. This grant should be used when you can't guarantee that the client's secret will be stored confidentially, or in order to mitigate the threat of having the authorization code intercepted by an attacker. Now, we are going to use C, proof key for code exchange, guys. Now, here, proof key for code exchange is an extension of Auth2 that provide a secure way to implement a robust authentication. And here we are going to create a client. And in order to create a client, you can see this is the command. But first of all, you need to have some tables within your migrations. You can see right here, I got a table. I got OAuth codes, OAuth access tokens. When I install Laravel Passport, this table has been created. Now, if it doesn't have these tables, you have to type this command in order to create them. You're gonna type php artisan vendor, and then you're gonna type enter, and then yes. Here you're gonna see right here passport migrations. Yeah, this tag. You're gonna type here. You can see if I type 18, I'm gonna publish again these tables. They're gonna create again these migrations. Now I'm gonna cancel because I've already created them. And then you're gonna do that, guys. If I get into within my PHP admin, you're gonna see right here I got this table. Here I'm going to copy this command in order to create a client. I'm gonna put it within the command prompt, tap enter. And then here, guys, which user ID should the client be assigned to? This, you're gonna tap enter. They're going to generate a random code. What should we name the client? We're gonna say Vue app. And then where should we redirect the request after authorization? And then what I'm gonna do, guys, I'm gonna pass here. You can see this is the path, the base URL of our Vue app. And then I'm gonna tap enter again. And then here you can see the provide us the client ID. I'm going to copy the client ID. And then if we go to within our database, you can see of clients table. And then right here, guys, you can see here we got the ID of the clients and then the name Vue app. This is the redirect URL. First of all, I'm going to store right here client ID of our clients. Now we are going to request for the token, and we are going to use a combination of code verify and code challenge in order to request for the token. We're gonna move to the section redirecting for authorization. I'm going to copy this code right here in order to redirect for authorization and put it within the web.php. And here we're gonna import the string class but also the request. You can see right here we got the code verifier and code challenge that we get when we just hashed the code verifier. And we are going to use this combination of code verifier and code challenge in order to request for a token. And here you can see they generate the code verifier using the string random. And then here in order to get the code challenge, they hash it. We are going to use HTTP query builder, generate a URL in code query from the associative array. And then here we need to pass the client ID. I'm gonna grab it and we are going to pass it right there, but also the redirect URL. Here I'm gonna go to within the browser. We got right here the redirect URL. And for the prompt key, we're gonna pass here the value consent. We are going to ask for the authorization here, but also right here you can see when they generate the URL encoded, they're going to redirect us on this path. I'm gonna pass here the base URL of our Laravel app. For the prompt, the value is consent. We need to ask for the approval, and we're going to create a page for approving the authorization. Here you can see we got the section approving the request. And when receiving authorization request, Passport will automatically respond based on the value of the prompt parameter and may display a template to the user, allowing them to approve or deny the authorization request. And in order to create this authorization page, we're gonna tap this command. I'm gonna get into the command prompt, php artisan vendor publish passport view. Once done, guys, we need to move to the section. We're gonna tap here C, and then we're gonna move to this section right here. We got a section redirecting for authorization. Once we hit this endpoint, we are going to request for the authorization code that we are going to use in order to get the access token. Now what I'm going to do, guys, I'm gonna copy that first, and then I'm going to put it within my web.php. And here we need to import the HTTP class. We're gonna pass it right here. You can see we have the HTTP class imported, but also we are going to, I'm gonna comment that first of all, and then I'm going to explain. I'm gonna comment that, and then we are going to debug the code verify. Once we're gonna hit this path right here, the callback path. And here, guys, if we go back to the doc, here you can see once a client redirecting for authorization, once a client has been created, you may use the client ID and the generated code verify and code challenge to request an authorization code and an access token from your application. Now, once we hit the redirect path, we are going to get the authorization code that we are going to use to get the access token. Once we got the authorization code, we are going to make an HTTP request, a post request to this path right here. That's what it says. To do that, first of all, I'm going to run my Laravel server by typing php artisan save. And then we are going to get into the browser. We are getting an error. We need to fix that first. And here we are going to fix that. We need to add here semicolon, guys. And then we're going to type php artisan save. Yeah, our server is running, and then I'm going to hit this path right here, redirect, and then I'm gonna get into the browser, and then I'm going to tap right here, redirect. And then they're gonna redirect us on the approval page, and we are waiting for it. Our Laravel server is running, and then here you can see right now we are getting an error. We need to fix that. You can see root login not found. First of all, we need to authenticate a given user, and if I get into my PHP admin, you can see right here I got a user here, and if you doesn't have a user, you can create it by hitting this path right here of redirect. They're going to redirect you on Google, and then you're going to create a user. I'm going to copy that, create right here the login root, and then here I'm gonna say this is going to be the login, and then I'm passing login, and then here I'm going to log in a user. I'm gonna pass a user, and then once we retrieve the user, we're gonna use of facade login. We're gonna log in this user, and then we're gonna get into the browser again, and then we are going to hit this in order to move to the approval page, and then they're gonna redirect us on the approval page. You can see authorization request, and then you can see the name of our app. Vue app is requesting permission to access your account, and then I'm going to tap authorize on the authorize button. You're gonna click yes, and then they're going to generate. Right now you can see we got the authorization code. I'm gonna put it within my sublim text. Right here you can see this is the authorization code. It is a long string, guys, and then we're gonna use it in order to get the access token. And here you can see we need to make a post request. Right here you can see we need to make a post request to this path and then /token. Now we need to send this data. We need to send the green type is the authorization, the client ID, the redirect URI, but also the code verifier. Now here, in order to get the code verifier, you can see right here we got another path right here. Here the callback. Right here I'm not do this. You're going to hit this path in order to get the code verifier, and here they're going to compare. They're gonna pull the state within session, and then they're going to check if the state is valid. I'm going to copy that, all of that. I'm going to copy the authorization code, all of that, and then I'm gonna get into the browser, and here I'm going to hit this path in order to get the code verifier, and then I'm gonna pass here callback here like this and tap enter in order to get the code verifier. Yeah, you can see right now we are getting the code verifier. Yeah, right here I'm going to copy this code verifier. This is the code verifier, guys, and then I'm gonna put it within my sublim text right here, and here I'm gonna add a little comment. I'm gonna add here code verifier, and then what we are going to do, we're gonna open Postman, and here you can see at the doc that says we need to make a post request. Right here, the green tab is authorization code. The client ID, we need to pass here the client ID. I'm going to copy our client ID is right here. I'm gonna copy that, but also you can see we need to pass the generated code. I'm going to copy that and pass it right here. Right here we got the redirect URI, but also we got the code verifier. We need to pass also the code verifier. And I'm going to copy this string, which is the code verifier, and pass it right here. We are going to request now for the access token and refresh token. And you can see this is the path that we hit. You can see the base URL of our Laravel app /or/token. And then I'm gonna tap send and see what we're gonna get. I'm gonna move this right here, and then we're going to see what we're gonna get. And you can see right here, guys, we are getting the access token and refresh token. Now, guys, as we already getting the access token and refresh token, now we need to protect our routes. We're gonna move to the section protecting routes, and here, in order to protect our endpoint, we are going to add this middleware. I'm gonna copy of current API, and then here, if we get into the API.php, you can see that all our endpoints are not secured. And if I try to hit this endpoint, in comes the get endpoint, I'm gonna go to the Postman, and here if I tap enter, you're gonna see what we're gonna get. And right here you can see we got an object. It contains a data property, and the data property is an array. Now what if I add right here the middleware, this middleware? Let's see what we're gonna get. I'm gonna tap again send. Let's move within the browser so that things can be clear. And here you're gonna see right here, I'm gonna pass here this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna pass the base euro API / income, and then I'm tap enter, and then you can see within the Postman we are getting an error. I'm not getting to the browser so that you can see. Yeah, you can see right here they're redirecting us on the login page because we are not authenticated. And what we need to do in order to hit this endpoint, the get endpoints, we need to authenticate. We need to provide a token. And if we get into the Postman, you can see right here we got the access token. Now we need to use the access token in order to get access to protected resource. I'm going to copy that. This is the access token, and get into right here within the second tab, and we're gonna move to authorization. And here, guys, you're gonna look for their token, and then we are going to pass this token, and then we are going to tap send in order to get there. And right now you're gonna see, yeah, you can see right now we are getting access to protected resource because we provide a valid token. Alright guys, as we already know how to get the access token and refresh token, now we're gonna use these two tokens on our Vue app in order to get access to protected resource. We're gonna store these two tokens within the local storage. Now, first of all, I'm gonna get into within our Vue app, and right here within the all folder, I'm gonna creating two pages. The first one is the callback page. I'm gonna pass it callback page. You're gonna use the callback page in order to get the authorization code, but also the state. And then I'm gonna create another page right here, which is the token page. We're gonna use the token page in order to issue tokens from our Laravel server. And then here, I'm gonna get into the login page. And right here, I'm going to pass you the base euro of our Laravel server, base euro. And then we're going to move to the endpoint. We're going to hit this endpoint redirect. And then once we hit the redirect endpoint, they're going to move us on this page. This is the callback. Now we're gonna store these two code within the local storage. First of all, I'm gonna get into the helper folder. Right here you can see we got the helper folder. I'm not creating another file. I'm gonna say auth.ts, and then I'm going to copy the login response type right here, and then I'm gonna put it within auth.ts. Now here I'm gonna create another function, set user data. And then the data type is going to be login response type, and then we're gonna store this data within the local storage. That's CRM, and we're gonna pass first the key and then the data. We're gonna pass here user data, and we are going to create another function that we're gonna use in order to retrieve this data within the local storage. Get user data, and then it's gonna return login response type, but also it can return undefined. I'm gonna use try catch block in order to catch errors, and then here we're gonna pass, you're gonna say user data, and then we're going to do local storage that get rm user data. And then the type of the user data, if we put a cursor over it, it is a type of string, and now we're gonna tap our user data. And then here we are going to check if the user data string it is not null in order to convert this data to JavaScript values. And then we're gonna do if type of user data it is different from an object, and then we're gonna create another constant login data, and then we're gonna type it with login response type, and then we're gonna convert this data. We're gonna do JSON parse, and then we're gonna pass the user data, and then we're gonna return it. If we got an error, we are going to do console.log error.message like this. Now we're gonna move within the callback page in order to get the authorization code, but also the state. We're gonna create right here the script, and then we're gonna say the length is ts and setup, and here we're gonna pass here the template, and then we're gonna put in event callback. And here what I'm going to do, we're gonna pass here the root in order we are going to get access to the query. Let me get into my Sublime text, and I'm gonna copy this path right here. This is the callback root. Now we're gonna use the use root composable, and then we are going to get access to the code parameter, but also the the state. And here I'm gonna create right here a constant code, and then we're gonna do the root.query and then that code, but also we're gonna do the same thing for the state. And then when we're gonna mount this page to the DOM, we need to display the code. I'm gonna try to check, and then we're gonna pass here the code. Now I'm gonna get into within the router folder, and then we're gonna register this page. I'm gonna copy that, and then we're gonna register another page. We're gonna pass here callback page, and then we're gonna pass here for the path is callback, and then right here for the name of the route is callback. And right here I'm gonna pass here the callback, and then I'm gonna get into the console, and here I'm gonna pass here a parameter, and then I'm gonna pass here small code to see if we're gonna get it within the console. And then right here, guys, you can see that we're getting the code. Now, what I'm going to do, we are going to redirect back to our Laravel server. And then I'm not getting to the callback page. I'm going to create a function, redirect to Laravel window.location. And then we're going to say that href. We're going to use the app constant. And then we're going to pass here that base URL. And then we're going to redirect this path in order to get the code verified. And then here, I'm going to pass here the path. We're going to move to base URL and then /callback. And then we're going to send the authorization code, but also the state in order to get the code verified. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to put it within the function. And then we're going to call our function when we're going to mount this function to the DOM. But also, guys, I'm going to set, I'm going to get into the auth.ts. You can see right here, we got login response type. We are going to set the authorization code, but also the state within the local storage. Right here, I'm going to say that the user object, it is going to be optional, but also the token and the code verifier. These fields are going to be optional. And then I'm going to go back, and then I'm going to call a function within the redirect to Laravel function. I'm going to say set user data, and then we're going to pass it an object. We're going to pass it the authorization code. We're going to pass it code, but also the state. We're going to pass it the state, and then they're going to put these fields within the local storage. And then here, guys, you can see we are getting an error right here. The type of code, it is a type of string or a string array. And then I'm gonna cast it. I'm gonna say is, I'm gonna set it to a type of string, but also I'm gonna do the same thing for the state like this. They're going to redirect us to our Laravel app in order to get the authorization code. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm gonna get into again within my Sublime text, and I'm going to copy this path right here. And then we're going to redirect back to our Vue app. I'm going to go within our Laravel app. And then here you can see we got the callback route. And then here we are getting right here the code verify. And then we're going to pass here, we're going to do return, redirect. And then we're going to pass here the code verify. And once they redirect us on the token page, we are going to send a post request to this endpoint of /token. And then I'm going to get into the token page. And I'm going to define, first of all, the template. And I'm going to use I'm going to define a constant root, use root in order to retrieve the query. And then here, I'm going to do const code verifier. And then we're going to do root that's query. And then we're going to pass here code underscore verify. Now we're going to we're going to assert it to a string type. And we're going to make a post request to this endpoint. I'm going to copy all of that and put it within the token page. And I'm going to comment this code, but also we got some type, guys. You can see we got the first type of token input type, but also we got of token response type. Now we are going to create a function that's going to make a post request to the of token endpoint. And then here we're gonna do function get access token and refresh token. And then we're gonna call our make it p data function. We're gonna say it is going to be an asynchronous function, and then we're gonna call we're gonna pass here a wait, make it prec. We're gonna pass it to type. We're gonna pass it the of token input type, but also we're gonna pass it the of response type. And then we're gonna pass it the endpoint is of /token, and here we're gonna pass it to the endpoint is post, but also we need to pass it the input. We're gonna create an input, and then we're gonna type it with of token input type. We're gonna pass it right here, and then we are going to assign its data. And then here I'm gonna pass it this property right here. For the green tab is authorization code. Now we need to go within our Laravel app in order to grab the client ID. I'm gonna copy the client ID and I'm gonna pass it right here. But also we need to copy the redirect URL. This is I'm gonna go back to our Laravel app, and here I'm gonna copy the redirect URL. But also we need to pass here the code verifier. You can see we already retrieved right here the code verifier. Yeah. And then we're gonna pass it right here. And then in order to get the authorization code, I'm going to call a function get user data. And you can see that the get user data return login response type. We are going to retrieve the authorization code. We're gonna do authorization code, and then we're gonna pass it right here. And then we're gonna do that authorization code like this. We can pass here even user data. And then we're gonna use the user data variable in order to get access to the authorization code. Like this, guys. Now, if we offer the data variable, you can see that the type is of token response type. Now we are going to store the access and refresh token within the local storage. And then here we're gonna pass our set user data object. We're gonna pass it the token, and we're gonna pass it the access token, and then we're gonna do data optional chaining. Now we are getting an error because we need to provide some additional fields. I'm not getting to within the auth.ts. You can see right here we got the state, and we need to make it optional, but also by default we're going to make the code verifier optional. And then we're gonna go back within the token page, and then the error disappear. Now I'm going to grab all of this, and I'm gonna put it within the try catch block. I'm passing try catch in order to catch the error. I'm gonna pass our code right here. But also here I'm going to call another function show error, and here I'm going to asset the error as error interface, and then that message like this, guys. And then right here you can see if we get into within the make.php rec file, you can see right here we point to API base URL, but we need to point within the web.php. What I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this function here, and then I'm going to duplicate it, and here I'm gonna create a second one. I'm gonna say make php rec. Right here I'm gonna pass here 2, and then here we're gonna point to the base URL. Yeah, like this, guys. And then I'm gonna get into within the token paid view, and then we're gonna pass this function right here. But but also we need to import it, and then here the error disappear. Now we're gonna get into within the router in order to register this page, and I'm gonna copy this path, and we're gonna pass here the token is the name of the path. For the name of the root is token. Now we need to get into the browser in order to check if everything is working. But for that, we need to call our get access token and refresh token function. We need to pass it to the unmounted hook. Right here I'm gonna pass it a wait, and then we're gonna get into the browser and try to see if it is going to work. Now I'm going to copy right here, we're getting an error, and then I'm gonna pass there the base URL, and then I'm gonna get into the console to see if we're going to get the access token but also the refresh token within the local storage. And I'm gonna click on sign up or login with Google, and then they're gonna redirect us on Laravel. But first of all, we need to run our Laravel server, and then we're gonna get into the browser. We're gonna tap enter, and then we're gonna see what we're gonna get. And then here you can see right now we're on the authorization page, and then I'm gonna click on authorize button, and then you can see right now you can see we are getting a calls error has been blocked by calls policy. This is the message. Now in order to get rid of this error, we are going to tap this command right here. Let me show you. You're gonna tap php artisan config colon publish calls, and then if you get into within your Laravel app, you're gonna see right here within the config folder you got calls.php, and then here you're going to add this path right here, and then you're gonna add all of like this, and then you're gonna /stars like this in order to be able to make a post request to this path right here. Once you do that, you're not going to get this error that I'm getting within the console. And then if I refresh again, I'm going to get the access token, but also the refresh token. Now here, I'm gonna do local storage and then user data. And then you can see we are getting the access token, but also the refresh token. But also I can utilize the access token in order to get access to protected resource. I'm going to copy that. But right here, you can see, yeah, this is the access token. I'm gonna copy that. And then I'm gonna get into the postman in order to check if it is going to work. Right now, I'm gonna get into within the authorization tab. And here, I'm gonna pass the token that we get within the local storage. I'm gonna click send. And then you're gonna see that right now right now you can see that we're getting access to protected resource. Now, if we get into within the web.php file, I'm gonna get into within the API.php file. You can see right here, we protect only one endpoint, yeah, by using this middleware. I'm gonna remove that. And then here I'm going to use middleware groups. I'm gonna get into my Sublime text, and here I'm gonna copy that, and we are going to protect all our endpoints. And here I'm going to do this. I'm gonna protect the incomes and expenses endpoint first, and then I'm going to protect pricing's endpoint. I'm gonna wrap this endpoint within the middleware so that they can be protected. Yeah, like this. But also, if you get into the browser, I'm gonna get in the browser, and right here you can see if I try to hit, for example, API, and pass here API, and then I'm pass here incomes and tap enter. They're gonna redirect us on the login page. I don't want that. Now I'm going to return a JSON object, and I'm gonna get into within the web.php, and right here I'm gonna pass you this response. We are going to return a message not authenticated but also the started 401. And here I'm going to refactor the redirect path. I'm going to copy this content and put it within the auth controller. I'm gonna get into the auth controller and I'm going to pass it right here. When the user is going to hit the create user via Google, we are going to get first data from Google because Google is our identity provider. And then we're gonna use Laravel Passport in order to get a token. And right here, we're gonna pass here the request class, but also we need to import the string class. I'm gonna get into within the web.php, and here I'm going to copy that and put it within the auth controller. I'm gonna pass it right here, but also we're gonna remove that. When we are going to create a user, we are going to log in the user, and then we are going to redirect this path right here. Now I'm gonna get into within the web.php, and then we are going to remove the redirect right here. We're going to remove it because we're not going to use it, and we are going to stay with the callback URL. I'm not remove that. But also we are going to pass within the redirect URI the user ID and the user email of the logged in user. We're going to create a constant user and then of class, and then we're going to pass here double semicolon user. And then we're gonna pass here the login user ID, email, and here the core verifier. Now I'm gonna get into within our Vue app, and here we're gonna get into the token page. I'm gonna get in the token page, and we are going to retrieve right here the user ID, but also the user email. And then here I'm gonna pass here the user ID. I'm gonna copy that and pass it right here. Yeah, like this email. Now we are going to store this data within the local storage. I'm gonna copy the user ID, and then here I'm gonna pass it to the set user data function. I'm gonna pass it the user, and then first of all we need to pass here the name. Here we're gonna pass here even the email only, but also we're gonna pass a user email, and here we need to pass here the user ID like this. And then we are getting an error. We are going to pass here semicolon. And if we get into within the auth.ts, you can see right here, the tab of login response tab, we have the user property. We have the name, email, and user ID properties. Now here we're going to say the name is going to be optional. but the email and user ID are going to be required. Now we are done here. We just store the user ID, but also the user email within the local storage. And what I'm going to do, I'm not copy first this variable user data, and we're going to provide the make TS function. We're going to provide it the token within the header. And you can see here, right here, we are going to retrieve the token, and we're going to pass it right here. We are going to import, first of all, we're going to import the get user data, and then we're going to do that here, user data, that token, and then here that access token like this. But also we are going to pass the incomes and expenses endpoint the user ID. I'm gonna get into the income and expense, and here we got a reactive property, which is the input variable, and it has the ID, name, amount, and user ID. Right now you can see we pass here the user ID 1 for testing purpose. Now we're gonna pass it null. And then I'm not getting to within the create income expense.ts, and then I'm going to say that the value of the user ID is going to be a number or null. And here you can see we got the function create income expense. And here what I'm going to do, first of all, I'm not define the user data, and then I'm not call our get user data function. And then we're gonna extract the user ID. Right here we got the input. I'm gonna copy this and pass it above the data variable, and then that user ID equal to user data, and then that user ID. And then guys, you can see we are getting an error because the type of user ID is a string or undefined. Now I'm going to convert it to a type of number. I'm gonna pass it %, and then I'm pass it to the % function. And here we are going to assert the user ID as a string because the % function takes a string. Now I'm going to copy this function again, and we are going to display the email of the logged in user. And I'm not getting to the admin. Now here you can see we got the navbar. We are going to pass our navbar another prop. And here I'm going to import first of all the get use data function. I'm going to pass here user data equal to user data like this. And then I'm not getting to within the navbar view, and then I'm going to define this prop. And here I'm gonna say the type of user data, it is going to be a type of login response type. And here we got a div. I'm going to define in an name tag and then user data. But also here I'm gonna display right here an image. Yeah, I'm gonna use this image, and then I'm gonna pass here an ID attribute user avatar, and here we're gonna add a little CSS to it. The border radius, we're gonna pass it even 20 pixel. Padding, we're gonna pass it even 5 pixel. And but also we are going to add right here a width attribute. We're gonna say width. Now we are going to get into the token page, and then here we need to redirect to the dashboard once we just set the user data, but also the access and refresh token within the local storage. We're gonna pass here window.location and then that href, and then we are going to redirect to the dashboard. If we get into within the admin page, you're gonna see right here to the navigation reactive property array. We pass here the link is admin. We're gonna pass here dashboard, dashboard, and then we are going to log out. Right now, I'm gonna pass here window href. We are going to move to the login page. Now we are going to get into the browser, and we are going to try to log in again. And here I'm going to redirect to the login page, and then I'm gonna tap sign up or login with Google. Now I'm gonna click on the authorize button again. You can see right now we're on the dashboard. Alright guys, now we're gonna work on the logout endpoints, and we are going to get into within the page admin. You can see we got the table of access token, and within this table here, they store ID, the user ID and the client ID of the logged in user. Now we are going to write a query that is going to delete a logged in user within this table. Now we're gonna go to our Laravel app. Right here, we're gonna get into within the all feature test. And as we are using TDD methodology, we are going to write first test that is going to fail, and then we're gonna make a pass later. Now here, this is the test case. Test should log out user. Now I'm gonna get into within the expense feature test, and then here I'm going to copy the logic of the delete within the delete test case. And here I'm gonna put it within our should logout user test case. And here I'm gonna send the user ID. We are going to pass here one. We're gonna point to the port HTTP verb, but also the endpoint is logout. Yeah, like this. And then here we are going to offset the status to be 200, but also the message to be logged out user logged out. This is the message that we need to set, user logged out, like this. And then we are going to get into within the API.php, we are going to define an endpoint for that test case. I'm gonna get into, and here we are going to copy this endpoint right here, and we're gonna pass here post, and here logout, which is the endpoint, but also here we're going to pass here logout. We are going to create a method within the auth controller logout, and then we're going to pass here our controller, and then we're going to get into within the auth controller. Right now we need to import the DB class, and here I'm going to copy this function right here. I'm going to copy this function, and then I'm going to pass it right here. The name is logout. And here, what we are going to do, we are going to pass here, we're going to say DB, and I'm going to get into within my subject text, we got right here of access token, and we are going to delete a user. We're going to pass it table, and then we are going to return the message user logged out. And I'm going to get into within the all feature test, and right here, I'm going to copy this method right here, user logged out, and I'm going to put it within the auth controller. Here I'm gonna pass it right here. Now here you can see we just finished writing the logic within the logout function. Now what we are going to do, we are going to create a seeder. If we get into within the all feature test, right here we don't have this user, because when we are going to run our test, it is going to fail. And to do that, we are going to create a seeder for the auth access token table. Yeah, we are going to create a fake user with a fake ID, and then we are going to delete this user. Now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to get into the command prompt, and then we're going to type php artisan make seed of access token seed and tap enter. And then here I've already created, right here you can see this is the logic. We are going to insert in within this table this fake user. I'm going to get into within the database folder. You can see right here we got of access token seed. And then I'm going to put in the logic, and right here I need to import the DB class. And then right here you can see we just pass here a fake user ID, but also the client ID, and the user ID is 1. We are going to delete this user. Now I'm going to get into the database seeder. We are going to import the auth access token seed within it, and right here we're going to pass it. We're going to pass it right here, and then we're going to pass the path. And then we are going to call this auth access token seed. We're going to pass it to the call function. We are going to call multiple seed, and we're going to pass it an array. Now we are going to import the auth access token within the auth feature test. We're going to import it right here, and then we are going to call the seed. I'm going to pass it right here. I'm going to pass here. We're going to call this. We're going to pass it seed. Now, if you run our test, it is going to fail. Now, I'm going to get into the command prompt and type php artisan test. And here, you're going to see the raw test, it is going to fail. Guys, you can see raw test failed. Yeah, you can see right here, should logout failed. Why? Because we are trying to get access to protected resource. If you get into within the API.php file, and right here, I'm not getting to within the API.php. You can see that the logout endpoint, but also incomes, expenses endpoints, all these endpoints are protected by the auth API middleware. And what we are going to do, we are going to create another function that is going to provide the access token to every test case. And right here, I'm not pass here the name of the function. We're gonna create it. We're gonna say protected. And then we're going to call setup this function on every test case, parent, and then we're going to call the setup function like this. And then here we are going to add the token. We're going to call another function with headers, and then it takes an array. We're going to pass the key is authorization, and then we're going to pass it bear, and then right here we're gonna pass here the token like this, guys, and if we're gonna add right here semicolon, and we are going to go at laravel.com, and on this section personal access tokens, and here we're gonna rate a bit, and sometimes your users may want to issue access token to themselves without going through the typical authorization code redirect flow. We don't want to go within the authorization code redirect flow. Now we're going to create a personal access token. We are going to copy this command right here and then tap enter. They're going to prompt you to enter the name of your client. We're going to say Laravel. We're going to pass here the name Laravel test case lock, and we're going to generate a personal access token. Now we got the client ID, but also the client secret. I'm not getting to the doc. And here you can see we got two env environment variable. I'm gonna copy it and put it within my env file. And right here we got the env, and we're gonna pass it right here. Now we are going to copy the client ID. Here, this is the client ID, copy it. But also here we are going to copy the client secret. Yeah, you can see I pass right here the client ID, but also we need to copy the client secret. Copy it right here. You need to copy it, and then you're gonna pass it right here like this. Now if we get into within our database, within the PHP admin, we are going to look for a table of clients, and then you're gonna see right here we got a client. Let me zoom a little bit, and we got a client right here. Let me show you. I'm gonna increase the width of this column. And then you can see right here, we got Laravel test. Let me select Laravel test. And then we are going to seed also these clients. And here we are going to create another seeder for the of clients. And then we are going to get into the command prompt, PHP artisan make of here like this, clients seed. And then you're going to tap enter. They're going to create this seed. Now we are going to insert in the client ID, but also the client secrets. And we are going to get into the subject text. Right here, I've already prepared the logic that we're going to put in within the run function. I'm going to copy that. And then here, we're going to pass right here this. And then here, we're going to remove this ID and pass a real ID. Now, I'm not getting to within the PHP admin. You can see this is the client ID. I'm going to do that. I'm going to copy this client ID right here. And then we're going to pass it to this column, pass here the client ID, but also we need to copy the secret and the name of the client. And then here we're gonna copy the Laravel test. We're gonna get into, we're gonna pass it right here. Here you can see the name is Laravel test, but also we are going to do the same thing for the secret. We are going to do this. We are going to increase the width, and then you're gonna copy the secrets. Let me do that. Right here, I'm gonna pass here the secret like this, and then we are going to import the DB class, use DB, and then we are going to copy the of client seed and import it within database seed.php, and then we are going to pass it right here, yeah, like this. Now we need to call the of client seed. We're gonna pass it to our array. Yeah, we're gonna pass it right here, and then here we are done. And then I'm not getting to the of client fixtures, pass here our seed. And what I'm going to do first, I'm going to call our seeder of client seed, and I'm gonna pass it right here. And then here, guys, we are going to provide a token. We're gonna go at Laravel.com website, and here you can see, in order to generate the personal access token, we are going to use the user model. I'm gonna copy this, and then I'm going to pass it right here. Now here you can see we got the test case, test create user. Now I'm gonna copy this class right here, pass it right here, and then I'm gonna do user. Now we are going to call the setup function on every test case that is going to run the artisan test to run our tests, and then tap this command, and then we're gonna see if the test is going to pass. And then you can see right here we got one failed test. Yeah, you can see right here should log out user. This test case pass, but for expense feature test, all test case failed. but also for the income fixtures. Yeah, right now the logout test case pass because we just provide the token. Now we're going to provide the token within the income fixtures, but also within the Xmas fixtures. And here I'm going to get into the income fixtures. First of all, we are going to copy. We're going to create a function, protected function setup. I'm going to copy that and put it within the expense fixtures right here. You're going to pass it right here. And then I'm going to go back within the off fixtures, and then I'm going to copy the off client seed. I'm going to put it right here. Right here, you can see we got the fake user class. And then I'm going to create right here another class. I'm going to name it fake user. And then we are going to import this class. Now we are going to import this class within the expense fixtures. I'm going to pass it right here. Yeah, like this. Pass it right here. And then I'm going to type PHP artisan test to see if the test it is going to pass again. I'm going to get into the command prompt and type PHP artisan test to see if the test it is going to pass. And right now, you can see, yeah, right here you can see the test case for the expense fixture test pass because we just provided the personal access token. Now we need to do the same thing within the income fixtures. I'm now getting again. First of all, I need to import the fake user class, but also the off client seed. I'm going to copy that and put it within the income fixtures. And here, I'm going to pass it right here, but also I need to import the setup function. I'm going to copy that and put it within the income fixtures. And then I'm going to get in again within the command prompt and type PHP artisan test again. And then you're going to see that all our tests are going to pass here. Yeah, we still have an error. You can see for the income fixture test, the test failed. Yeah, we got an error on line 19. I'm not getting to within this file. Yeah, we need to import the user class, and I'm not getting to within the expense fixture test, and we are going to import the user model, and then I'm going to put it within the income fixture test, and then our test is going to pass. I'm going to type PHP artisan test again here. Let us see if the test is going to pass again. And then you can see that all our tests are passing. Now guys, you can see that all our tests are passing. Now we are going to move to within our Vue.js app, and we are going to create a function logout that is going to point to the logout endpoints. And then here, first of all, I'm gonna copy this code and get into within the admin page. And here I'm gonna pass a try catch to catch errors, try catch block, and then we're gonna pass this function right here. Now here, what we are going to do, first of all, we need to import the make hp-rec function, and we're gonna pass it the hp verb is post, but also the endpoint is logout, and also we need to pass it the user ID, and we're going to say that we're gonna define the type. The user ID, the type is a number, and here we are going to create a constant const user ID, and we're going to pass here parsings, and we are going to extract the user ID within the user data variable. We're going to pass a user, and then here we're going to pass a user ID. We are going to assert it to a type of string, and then here like this guys, and then we're going to assert it to a type of number. And then here you can see right now the user ID, it is a type of string and undefined, and right now we assert it to a type of string. And right here, we're gonna call another function show errors. And then right here, we are going to remove one curly braces like this, guys. And then we are going to say that our logout function, the type, it is going to be an asynchronous function like this. Right now, we are going to display the message in case we log out a user. We're gonna call another function success message, and then we're gonna do data.message. And right here, we need to pass here the response type is the message, the type is a string like this. And once we just log out a user, we are going to redirect on the login page. I'm gonna do this window.location, and then here that href, we're gonna move to the login page, but also we are going to clear out data within the local storage, and then we're gonna call the clear function like this. And then if you get into the browser here, I'm gonna refresh again, and then I'm gonna click on logout, and then you're gonna see, yeah, we just logged out this user. Thanks guys for watching this video, and I see you in the third part where we're gonna finish our project.